something is amiss when it comes to Warner Brothers and the fact that they're missing out on all the fun of Paramount. Turns out, ladies and gentlemen, they are, they're a little bit hostile to the hostile takeover out of Variety by Todd Spangler. Warner Brothers Discovery rejects Paramount $30 per share acquisition offer, calls it inferior to Netflix deal, and alleges the Ellisons, that's the former friends of the President of the United States, aren't providing a full backstop for financing. Now, let me translate this for you. Basically, what David Zaslav and the board of Warner Brothers are saying is that the Ellisons are liars in a more than $100 billion offer. This is crazy. We have reached crazy levels. And can I just say to everybody, this company is not worth more than $100 billion. It is 1,000% not worth it. Now, I get that we're in an auction, and for these companies, for Netflix, they can destroy the theaters and call it a day. And for Paramount, they can win so many IPs that they actually could defeat Disney. I get it. But this company on its own, just measured, not in some sort of meta way, but just measured in terms of what it has, what it owns, there's no way it's worth $100 billion. Come on! Well, let me tell you something. Warner Brothers board remains committed. Netflix deal asserts Paramount Skydance's $9 billion merger cost synergies target would make Hollywood weaker, not stronger. Warner Brothers Discovery's board has formally said no thanks to the $108 billion takeover bid from David Ellison's Paramount Skydance and unanimously reiterated support for the Netflix deal. That wasn't enough. They had to go and say Paramount is lying, essentially. That's where things get really weird, really strange. Here's the quote. The terms of the Netflix merger are superior. The Paramount Skydance offer provides inadequate value and imposes numerous significant risks and costs on Warner Brothers Discovery. According to the WBD board's letter, Paramount has consistently, listen to this, we're in nutso land. Jonas, I'm going to go to you first on this because really, you're kind of in unprecedented territory with this. According to the Warner Brothers Discovery board letter, Paramount has consistently misled shareholders that its proposed transaction has a full backstop from the Ellison family. It does not and never has. And then on top of that, because that's plenty, right? To call your potential next owner liars,
right,
who are misleading your shareholders. They went ahead and brought over the Netflix top guys to do a little walkthrough of their new home, as if this is a home sale and they're getting to do the walkthrough tour. Jonas, what in the world is going on here? This is not operating like any traditional or normal transaction at this level, ever, never.
Well, I don't know. Looking at the way that we don't know what Rupert Murdoch did with the Fox deal with Disney, and supposedly was going to go to Comcast. With this, there's some things that happened in recent history that need to be brought up that might have made David Zaslav a little salty. First of all, there's the fact that David Ellison was sending Zaslav texts and things like that. Apparently, a lot of those went unanswered. And in the Paramount filing that went to shareholders in a way that was, you could say it was behind David Zaslav's back, although it ends up being public because it's an SEC filing. They said in the Paramount filing that there was no response from David Zaslav or the shareholders, or the board members for that offer that ended up totaling to $108 billion. That could look really bad if that came up and was completely true from a Warner Brothers board of directors and CEO standpoint. That's something that reflects poorly on David Zaslav. So I wonder if in all of this, David Zaslav was looking for some way to stick it to Paramount just a little bit, because if that number could be a little bit higher from Paramount, that will solve a lot of problems. But if they can make it look like David Ellison is not playing with a full deck here, or if he's trying to do a little sleight of hand with the shareholders, I think that's something that maybe David Zaslav is trying to put the shareholders at ease and maybe get the shareholders on David Zaslav's side. There was also a statement from David Zaslav that he said, I thought it was inappropriate that Paramount was offering to personally pay me with their offer as well. So I wonder.
There's no, and that's crazy, right? I mean,
It is crazy.
The idea that a giant CEO who makes millions is aggravated, annoyed that he's going to get more millions, right?
Right. Well, him being annoyed by it is different from the appearance of impropriety. So, that's the kind of thing they might accuse Netflix of trying to do in all of this. There's also the fact that when Bob Iger was negotiating the Fox deal, the Disney board put in a provision to say that if the deal goes through, Bob Iger gets $100 million. Okay, well, if I send my kid to the store and say negotiate to try to get the price of what I'm sending you to buy down by at least 50 cents, but regardless, I'm going to pay you $100 million if you buy whatever it is. Is he going to work too hard to negotiate that price down, or is he just going to go in and say, "Yeah, okay, I'll buy this from you, and maybe I'll pay $1 million, but I'll pay it after I get my $100 million." There's so many little clauses and things that happen in these huge deals that they're playing hardball at this point. I do think he's right in pointing out that this doesn't have a backstop with Larry Ellison, who's the real money here at Paramount. That is, the Saudis can offer whatever amount of money. Jared Kushner, who's now out of the deal, can offer whatever amount of money. But the real money here is Larry Ellison, who owns Oracle, who can make enough to buy or sell this in a day. That's a little bit of exaggeration, but Oracle has flirted with being a $1 trillion market cap company, and that's mostly held by the Ellison family. They also tried to represent that the Ellison Family Trust was the one who was backing this deal, but none of Larry Ellison's Oracle stock is in that trust. So Valiant Renegade has a lot of great material on this that you all need to be watching to cover this. But everybody has a point, but also I think this is a little bit of David Zaslav saying, well, you stick a finger in my eye, I'm going to stick a little finger in your eye too.
So I totally agree. The interesting thing to me is we've got two options here. So option number one is that Netflix gets this thing and it's the end of theaters. I don't see any way around that. I know Netflix is trying to assuage the fears, but they're going to destroy the theaters. We all know it. And the other option is that Paramount Skydance really does buy this for a price that they hate, that they can't stand, and they can't stand anybody at Warner Brothers anymore either. And that's going to be a total cleaning of the house for leadership. So this is really about as high stakes as you can get. Ron, what are your thoughts about how this is playing out? It's gotten very ugly, and now you've even got the situation where Skydance is being backed into a corner because the Ellisons have they've lost, I guess, the allyship for the moment of the president because he's not keen on their coverage for CBS News and 60 Minutes. What are your thoughts, Ron, on how this plays out and what's at stake?
It's become a soap opera drama just as much as Days of Our Lives, which I believe was filmed on the Warner Brothers set there, because I've stepped on that set. Yeah, I think the whole thing has become crazy from where it started, which, if I'm right about this, am I right in thinking that it actually started with Paramount coming to Warner Brothers first to make some type of an offer, and then it started to become a juggling match back and forth, and then Comcast came in, Netflix is now the winner, sort of. We don't really know what's going to end up, but it obviously shows the amount of, I don't know if it's business or if it's passion for entertainment. I would hope that it would be passion for entertainment, but I don't think it is. And that's the sad part to me about this whole thing. I wish that this whole fight was about, well, if this is really about the passion to keep entertainment that's good going out to audiences who will love it and respond, and then the money will flow because it's a good thing, right? It just doesn't feel like that. And it's going to be hard, I think, to end up with either one of these companies whenever the deal is finally done in the end, and everything is resolved. I don't know that anything great ends up coming out of it at this point in time. I still like the idea of Paramount being the winner, because I think that if Netflix gets Warner Brothers and keeps a lot of the same people on both of those companies, I just don't see the entertainment coming out being very, very good, being very high quality, being something that all audiences will respond to well. Also, like you said, they could wipe out theaters, and the theatrical experience, I think, is still a very important experience, to have the opportunity. It's gotten expensive for a family, but at the same time, like when we go on the lesser expensive days and we find the bargains and we still have a really good time going out to the movies, it's a unique experience, and it's part of our culture. And I hate to see that go away. And I think that if Netflix ends up winning this thing, that eventually does go away, and maybe goes away a lot faster than it would otherwise. Paramount ends up winning the day, and the shareholders actually speak to what I think would be the best deal for the shareholders. I still think that it ends up being the better deal for everybody. It'll be a very, very interesting to see what comes out of this going forward, no matter who gets it. In my own mind, I just think that we're all, like the audience, people that are going to be watching, people that are going to be subscribing, people that are going to be paying for entertainment, I think are better served by Paramount winning the day on this.
Lauren, that is that was a wonderful dissection of what's happening here from Ron. I don't know what else we can add to that. I think it's exactly what's going down, but Lauren, theaters might be going down. And that's what's getting lost in all of this, is that if Netflix finishes this thing off, then they may finish off an experience that we've been having for a century. And I don't know, maybe if one company can do that, maybe it was just a matter of time anyway. But I hate to see it happen. And I think we are at the precipice of seeing theaters gone. In fact, depending on how this plays out, maybe now less than a decade before a lot of those theaters are Goodwills and Spirit Halloween stores. Your thoughts?
I remain an optimist on this front. I don't think that the theater experience is going to be killed completely. I do think that right now people are avoiding going to the theaters. I think a lot of that has to do with the quality of the content that they're getting and the economic situation that we're in right now. If we start getting decent movies again at some point in the future, there is an experience you can get at the theater that you cannot get even if you have a very nice home theater. You miss the communal experience. I don't think that's ever going to go completely away. So I'm not completely doom and gloom on this. I think the regulators, especially not only here but in Europe, are also going to have something to say about this. I don't think the fat lady is sung yet. I'm just going to sit back and watch what happens over the next couple of years.
Now, I want to bring up a super chat real quick, and we don't normally do this in the middle of a segment, but Aldo Casabona wants to know, from a member for 7 months, why do they have to sell? Can't they just keep it? And to answer that, Aldo, is why would Warner Brothers want to keep it? It's currently being valued at least 3 times higher than I think it's worth in this giant tug of war to see if they can get it. So if you're David Zaslav and your company just tripled in value, and if you keep it, it goes back to where it was or lower, well, that's not going to work. Folks, I want to bring on an expert right now to talk us through the ins and outs of this. Please welcome to the stage, ladies and gentlemen, a friend of the channel and a friend to you as well, Tom Connors of Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark. Tom, welcome to the panel. The 3 people out there are big fans. Tom, yes. Would you please walk us through your thoughts on this situation as it's unfolding?
Well, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and it appears to me that there's some things you guys are either not aware of or just haven't been keeping up with, because this is a very big mess.
Tom, that's why we've got you here. Get us through it. What do we got?
Okay,
what do we got?
So where do I start with this? Well, first of all, I have to push back a little bit. I think Warner Brothers is worth close to 100 million, if not more. Why do I say that? Because first of all,
billion.
Fox sold for billion. Yes, thank you. Because Fox sold for 70 billion a couple of years back, and Fox ain't got nothing.
Yeah, but we also said that the Fox deal was way higher than it should have been. It was a little
overpriced, but guess what? This sale that we're looking at right now is already less than what AT&T paid for Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers has been their stock has been downgraded so many times because of BS that's part of the problem. Is they're just starting to get where their stock should be. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to remember there's a huge amount of cable channels involved here. There's a huge amount of IP involved here. And let's not even get started on the music and the video game aspect of this, right? Warner Brothers is a much, much, much bigger company, more on the same level as Disney than a lot of the other studios. Now, they're not exactly the same. They're no longer involved in the parks. I don't think they have any involvement in, what was it, Six Flags or whatever anymore. I don't know about that. But what's going on here is that Zaslav is calling Ellison out for his BS. Ellison came to the table saying, I'm going to buy Warner Brothers, even though I just bought a vehicle and I haven't driven it yet. I'm going to buy another one. And Daddy's like, are you so sure about that? Because you got this other vehicle sitting right here that you haven't even driven yet. What do you think you need another car for? I'm going to quote Will Smith's dad. You only got one butt, son. What do you need so many cars for?
Yeah.
I'm going to sit here and go, so he goes, all right, well, whatever, go ahead, give it a shot. So he makes his little offer, which sets off this entire thing, right? Let's be real. That super chat you brought up there, or the member chat, is 100% correct. Warner Brothers doesn't have to sell anything. At no point was it even really up for sale. Ellison started this whole thing. He put in a bid, which made everybody else start throwing in bids. And as we've been finding out in the background, this has been going on for a while now. And what it sounded like is Ellison was making promises that he couldn't keep. And not only that, it sounds like he was borderline bribing David Zaslav, right? Which could be a big, huge problem here. Let's not even forget that he's bringing in foreign money into this and other things like that. The Jared Kushner situation. Trump has had to back away from this whole thing now because it was funny. A week ago, he was talking about how he was basically a shoo-in for Paramount. Now he's basically like, I barely know the Ellisons. I don't know anything about them.
It's because they did a news article on him that he didn't like, and
exactly
he's looking for leverage there. Yeah.
But anyway, so after I think some of this shady dealing is why Zaslav kind of just ghosted Ellison. And at the same time, we got to remember here, Ellison is making a bid for the entire company head to toe, right? He wants everything. He doesn't just want one part of it. Netflix is not going after the cable networks. Let's make this clear. Because the offer that Ellison is making for the cable networks is nothing. It is nothing compared to what they are worth. So this is what's going down is basically Warner Brothers is going to split up. They got to Discovery is going to keep all the cable channels except for HBO. And then HBO and Warner Brothers are going to go over to Netflix. That's why the deal is better for the shareholders, because the offer that Ellison is giving them is nothing in comparison. So he's pretending and acting like it's this big deal, and he's trying to goose up all the members of the stockholders when it's not really remotely close to what Netflix is offering at the end of the day. Because Discovery is going to split off all those networks and take off with those, right? So now Discovery is going to have TNT, TBS, CNN, all those underneath their umbrella. The only thing they're not going to have is HBO. Okay, so there's that aspect of it. Now, as far as Netflix getting this, I agree with you guys. This is going to be a big hurdle for Netflix to get over with the FTC. But a lot of people are thinking of Netflix the wrong way. Here's the problem with Netflix. Netflix is not a studio. I know a lot of people want to think about them that way, but they don't produce anything. If you go and look at all their shows, they're produced by other production companies. They're basically a distribution outlet. They're a tech company. So this is really no different than AT&T when they bought Warner Brothers. So I think that's the argument that Netflix is going to make on this. And I agree with you guys. This is a bad deal for the industry. After their deals dry up, unless there's a good reason for Netflix to stay in the theater business, there isn't one. And all Netflix really wants here is the IPs at the end of the day. Or, and this is a big if, the possibility is they're being honest about keeping Warner Brothers running. And the reason why I think there might be a possibility of that is because Netflix technically doesn't have a studio. They don't actually produce anything there. Right? Like they give money to production companies to make things like Stranger Things and stuff like that. And their names are a part of these things, but they're produced outside of Netflix. Netflix doesn't physically make anything. Right? So that's where I think this is going to come down to. The regulators are going to have a hard time coming up with a good reason why this shouldn't go through. The only thing I think they're going to put a stop on, and because Script Doctor and I had a long conversation about this, is I think they might step in and say you can't have HBO Max and Netflix. So I think they might make them split off HBO on its own. That's the only thing I can see happening where they're going to force them to their hand in any way. Because otherwise, I don't know if the FTC can stop this from happening. Because it's almost like a done deal at this point. And that's why I think that as long as the regulations go through, it is what it is. And they have to adhere to all the contracts from all the years until they're all done. So that's why they said we're going to be putting movies in theaters till 2029.
Well, you know, absolutely. Yeah, the contracts are there. The other thing I've heard, Tom, is that really what this battle is about, which is something we've never maybe seen before, is as we get ready to go into an era of generative AI that Disney's already, preparing for, and all the other companies have to do that as well. There's a more premium value now on brands and characters than ever before, and that might be where the value is. That might be where the money is to have Superman, Batman, Looney Tunes, Harry Potter, etc. I mean, we can keep going and going, right? To have all of those characters, maybe that's where the value is in the future. Maybe it's worth it to have those properties under your belt. Maybe that's where the $100 billion is coming from.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, some of these properties are going to be going up to public domain too. We got to keep that in mind. But what is Netflix buying here besides a studio? They're buying a catalog, right? Like that's the other thing, is they don't have to rent this catalog out anymore. And Warner Brothers has one of the biggest catalogs out there, because not only do they have Warner titles, they have New Line. They also have a buttload of MGM titles pre-1986, I think it is. So yeah, they have a lot of stuff that has been gathered
I'll
up.
bring up something that I know that Tom will relate to here. Warner Brothers pretty much decided the last two format wars.
Pretty much. I know a lot of people like to say did, but no, Warner Brothers did.
Once the movies that everyone is willing to admit that they buy go with Blu-ray, then that decides, okay, well, this is the one we're doing. Which of course, when 4K is just an extension of Blu-ray, and before that DVD, what this is, Warner Brothers is a majority of the content out there that is released theatrically, and therefore is a majority of the content that is released on physical media, because Disney has not done a great job of releasing their stuff on physical for the better part of a decade now.
Right.
So,
which is
so this is, if all of that goes to Netflix, I think that's the death of physical media. It becomes something else entirely that becomes a niche collector's item and maybe a bootleg only item at that point.
See, that's where you're right, and I think that the company's worth a little bit more than people are giving it credit for. And you're right. If Netflix decides that they're not going to support physical media, a good about 40% of the industry is just going to fall, right? Because you're not wrong. Like Warner Brothers supports a lot of the industry. They actually deal with a lot of the other companies' home video releases, and Warner Brothers has always been one of the biggest home video supporters. And they were separate from everybody else since back when I was in the video store days. Like you had to go directly to Warner Brothers to get their stuff. But the beauty of it is it was cheaper, right? So they've always been more consumer friendly or video store friendly, or however you want to put it. But yeah, this is a bigger blow to me than the theater aspect. Because guess what? There's a good chance Netflix is going to go, hey, there's money to be made here in the theater. And I think that's part of the reason that got them into this whole deal to begin with, is because they saw some of the money that was being made with, the Demon Hunters and the other few things they were putting out in theaters, that they're like, well, maybe we do need a company that we can distribute. Because that's basically why Amazon bought MGM. They wanted a label that they could put out there this is a movie studio. We're a movie studio now.
Right. They don't want to be known as Walmart movies. They want to be known as MGM. And they're willing to say Amazon MGM, but they want a name that doesn't make people roll their eyes.
Exactly. And that's why Netflix wants Warner Brothers.
Well, folks, we're to find out, do shareholders want Netflix or do they want Paramount? It's a hostile takeover effort, but suddenly it's starting to look a little bit more like Netflix might be the winner in all of this. We'll let you know what's going on as the days unfold. Answers on the way. As ever, folks, we endeavor to have a good time here on the Pro Channel, and I have to say that spending time with you, talking about things that truly matter, like the stories that shape our lives and our culture, well, it is the ride of a lifetime to steal from Bob Iger. And that's the only thing we'll steal from Bob, because he has great security around his yacht. Folks, as we get ready to say goodbye, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, and stick it to the algorithms. It is the notification bell. Drop a comment right on down below. Let us know your thoughts. We would love to hear from you. And folks, worry not, for more content is still on the way. 3 or 4 times a day, let's do 4. I think that's better. And you know what? Don't forget that the Pro Show is live Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Eastern. You can also join us for our friends on That Park Place, our partner program. We have a good time there too. Folks, until the next time we get the opportunity to have a good time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as ever, keep having fun.